So please welcome up Armando Geneyro.
Hey guys, thank you for coming out early on a Friday. How many of y'all are missing work to be here? Nice. I got to go back to work actually after this. So thank you guys. Thank you to the whole Creative Mornings team, RJ, Lauren. Thank you to Jim for the photos he took of me. Thank you to Art Jim for hosting. I really appreciate it. They asked me back in March if I would do one of these, and of course I had to say yes. But before I even really knew what a Creative Mornings was, I had actually watched one on YouTube, and it featured one of my favorite photographers out of Los Angeles. His name is Steven Vanasco, and I actually reached out to him on Twitter and asked him for some advice, and he actually got back to me, and he said he kept it simple. He said, "Speak from the heart and make it personal." So hopefully I can give you a little bit of insight into my personal journey into photography, and also speak on the theme of craft. I titled the talk 10,000 Hours and Counting. It's based off the Malcolm Gladwell theory that you can master any craft in 10,000 hours. But we'll get back to the 10,000 hours thing. So this first photo, that's me right there in my dad's lap in his workshop. He was a jeweler, and this is about, I was 2 years old, so probably like 1985. So you guys can do the math on that. My dad actually, he's from Argentina. He dropped out of school at a very young age, like before the age of 10, to start working and supporting his family. Later in his teenage years, he started apprenticing to become a jeweler. Fast forward to the 1960s, he immigrated to the United States. He started his own shop, eventually became the head jeweler for a really prestigious shop in California, in Santa Barbara, California. He was a jeweler for over 55 years. He put in tens of thousands of hours into his craft. And I always knew he was really talented, but it wasn't until I graduated in 2000 from high school that I started working with him, and I was doing my apprenticeship to learn the jewelry trade, and I was learning the basics. And it wasn't until that time that I really noticed how passionate he was about his craft and how serious he took it. Every piece he made, he never phoned it in. He always approached every piece and client with the same care and precision, no matter the tools he had around him. That's very important, I think. And that always stuck with me. And I worked with him for about 6 months, learning the trade and really going over the basics. And one day, 2 weeks after my 18th birthday, he died unexpectedly in a car crash. So that kind of left me in a state of limbo. I left this slide blank on purpose. I didn't know what I was going to do next. Do I keep training to be a jeweler? Who's going to teach me now? Do I go back to school? I hate school. I just finished school. I'm not trying to go back. So naturally, I did the only thing that one could do after something like that happens. Does anybody take a guess? I started delivering pizzas. Really hated that job, but it's what I had to do at the time. But I had always considered myself a creative kid growing up. I really loved drawing and art and imagery, and my dad was actually really into photography. He didn't really get to practice it enough just because he was always so busy with his jewelry business. And my mom, she always had point and shoot cameras on her. She loved to document family parties, and she was always the one with the camera in family vacations. So I was very used to having a camera in my hands at a very young age. I was used to taking photos of my family too. So recently I went to go visit my mom, and I got to go through some old photos. She hates when I go over there and do that and dig through her stuff. But I found some photos from a trip that we took about 1.5 years after my pops passed away. A bunch of us, like 5 of us, went to Europe together as a family, and we had friends that were in the military out there. and kind of stayed with them and got to backpack through a couple countries. And it was really amazing. And I found some photos from my early days behind the camera. So I guess looking through the photos from back then and like reflecting on what I shoot now, the subject matter really hasn't changed all that much. I think the quality definitely has, but these were all taken with disposables. And when I went to Europe, I loaded my backpack with like 25 disposables. It was pretty crazy. So like just every day, I always had an eye for like photojournalism, like journalistic style photography, kind of like documenting everyday people and everyday situations. The guy on the right is a glass blower in Venice, Italy. He's holding a bong of some sort, or a vase, maybe. And this guy right here on the left is an authentic Rolex watch salesman. You can get one for like 30 bucks, imagine that. A couple more photos. As you can see, I was just brimming with potential. Fat finger in the photo. But I really had an eye for just capturing stuff that I thought that was pleasing to my eye, just everyday kind of scenes. And actually, it was during this trip that I talked to my family, and after much consideration, talking to the friends that we had over there in the military, that I decided that I was going to join the military as well. So I joined the Air Force in 2003, and this is me in Iraq in 2005, shot by my friend Eric. And basically, in my time in Iraq, I was an escort. They gave me a gun, and they said, here's all these people, and you just got to watch them work. So I met some interesting characters. I bought a Sony, like an old Sony CyberShot, 3-megapixel camera, which nowadays you can't even find a cell phone that takes photos that bad, or that low resolution. But this photo I took in Iraq in the middle of a sandstorm. And these guys were crazy. These guys, you notice this guy right here is wearing flip-flops. And these guys would spend all day unloading cement trucks. This was a cement crew. I worked with them for about 2 months. And they would unload these trucks just full of cement bags in 130-degree heat in the summertime out in Iraq. It was insane. But as soon as the sandstorm would hit, they would stop. They were like, we're done. We're done until this is over because we got sand in our eyes, we can't see. So I don't know if many of you have ever been in a sandstorm. It's kind of chaotic. It's loud. It's disorienting. Sand in your eyes is awful. So I really like the calmness of this photo. I feel like there's a certain calmness to it. And everyday people in everyday situations, like I said, is always what I love to do. This next photo, this is actually a photo I took with a disposable, and it's probably up there with one of my favorite photos that I've ever taken. This is the last day that we were in Iraq. We were leaving, and generally on a military flight line, you're not allowed to have cameras for security reasons, they say. But I said, there's no way I'm not getting this shot. There's no way I'm not documenting this shot. It was a special day. We're all leaving. So I remember we were walking, and I positioned myself in a way that I could try to get the shot, and I pulled out the disposable from my pocket, and I kind of held it shoulder high, and I just snapped it real quick, and I put it away. And a couple weeks later, I developed it, and it turned out to be one of my favorite photos. I have a really strong connection to it just because of what it meant to me and my fellow airmen at the time. We were really excited to get going home, back to the normal. Ooh, what did I do? Oh no, that's the next slide. That's good. As you work on your craft, you learn to develop a certain kind of foresight. Going back to that photo, can I go back? Yeah. Going back, I was visualizing that photo all day, and I think a true master craftsman will always prepare for any situation that he's in, and he'll always know how to maneuver himself at any difficult situation. Not to say that I was like a master craftsman at the time of this photo, but I definitely spent time visualizing it, and sometimes you get lucky. I had one shot at it, and I got lucky, and it turns out to be one of my favorite photos that I've ever taken. So this next slide is blank again. Fast forward to 2009, and I get out of the military. And these were the dark times. The economy's in the shitter. I couldn't find a job. When I was in the Air Force, I was stationed in Wyoming for 5.5 years, and I worked on missiles. And like, I didn't want to work on that anymore. I didn't want to do that anymore. You know, I don't care how much they're paying you as a civilian to go do that. I was done with it. So it was really, on top of that, I wasn't taking any photos. It was really a stagnant period in my life creatively. So I decided to move down to Denver. I started going to Metro State University. I ended up getting my degree in political science. The military is paying for it through the GI Bill, so I figured, you know, why not? I might as well learn something and try to figure out what I want to do with my life. After a couple years, going into my final year, I'm preparing to graduate. So I'm looking for some electives to do, and I started taking some photojournalism classes. And it was around the same time that Instagram was becoming really, really popular. It was becoming really big. And so I'm having these assignments, and I'm taking photos, and I'm posting to Instagram. I'm getting out into the city and meeting more people, and just letting the creative juices flow. Having a really good time. And so let's go into this next photo. This next photo actually means a lot to me. It's the first photo. I should say I didn't have a camera at the time. I was using an iPhone 4, I think. And so this photo in particular is really meaningful to me. This is the homie graffiti writer Dread. He's one of the people that helped start Colorado Crush back when it was still called that. It's called Crush now. It's just a big art event here in Denver, on the east side. This is his cans right here in front. But this photo in particular was the first one that I shot on my iPhone that somebody saw it and said, do you mind printing that? And I want to buy it. I want to hang it in my place. So not only was I being creative and taking more photos and getting out into the community more and more and meeting people, but now I think I'm creating art that people want in their home. And I really like that. I felt really good. So I just kept shooting. I kept shooting, and I actually want to go into my next point. Invest in your community, and your community will invest in you in return. I have been trying to showcase my community more and more through my photography, through those assignments in my photojournalism classes. That photojournalism really gave my photography a direction that I wanted to pursue. So it was around this time that a DJ friend of mine, he's here somewhere, he had asked me, well, he's a DJ and he hosts these parties every week, every Friday, and every Sunday in the summertime. And they're really like staples here in Denver in the party scene. And he was just looking for somebody to document the party and the vibes and just provide a different view of what was going on. And like I said, Instagram was really big at the time, so we wanted to get those photos out there. And I only had a camera phone at the time, and there was no way I was about to take photos at a party with a camera phone. So I had to invest in a professional camera. I had to get a flash, the whole nine. And with a little help, I was able to get my hands on one and start documenting my community in a way that had never really done before. I was really going to have to engage people and ask them to trust me that I would represent them right. So this next photo, I've been shooting these parties for 4 years now, around 4 years. This photo in particular, I shot at Goodness, which is our summer series party, and I think I was outside trying to get something to eat at the time from one of the food trucks, and the music was just blasting from the patio over here on the left. And it was like around magic hour, and they were just having a good time. They were vibing, this couple right here. And I was lucky enough to just be there and just to capture it real quick. A lot of times in the media, our communities of color, they get shown in a negative light. And I mean, I always use this as an example, the Trayvon Martin situation. If you're not familiar with the Trayvon Martin situation, he was gunned down by a security officer. But, you know, when they show him on like Fox News, like photos of him on Fox News or like on CNN, it's always the photo of him in the hoodie looking serious. It's never the photo of him and his dad smiling really big. That's fucked up. I know why they do that, you know? But representation matters. Positive representation matters. And so what I try to do with my images is I try to capture images that empower folks and kind of show who they are, whether it be in a playful situation like this or, you know, or something more somber, more serious. And Loki, DJ Loki, he really told, you know, he really challenged me to bet on myself. And I want to challenge you guys to do that, to bet on yourself, whatever your creative outlet is, to really invest in yourself and invest that time into your craft. It'll pay off for you in the end. When I started shooting those parties, I had no idea what I was doing. I had never really done that before. I had never used a camera, a professional camera like that. But I knew if I took the time to learn it, not only would I get better at it, but maybe more doors would open up for me. So I took that camera and I kept shooting. I took that camera to the streets, and I met people, I engaged people. This is Hector. I met him in Aurora during a car show. This is a kid in 5 Points. It was really hot that day, and that dog was not trying to have it. But yeah, it was a really cute kid, really cute moment that I was able to capture out there. This is was taken in June 2015. This was when same-sex marriage was finally legalized. And a bunch of people showed up to celebrate at the Capitol here in Denver. And you know, I live a few blocks away from the Capitol, so I had to get out there and I had to really document that. Thank you. I had to really document that. This was here in Denver in Globeville. This happened around a few weeks, I would say, after the events of Charlottesville, South Carolina. Good old-fashioned Confederate flag burning. This is at Ink Coffee. This is when Ink decided that gentrification was a laughing matter. And their storefront was vandalized, probably deservedly so. And the community really showed out. That's one thing about Denver, is the community will show out and really support something that they believe in, especially if it's something that, you know, touches on a national scale. Shout out to my friend Charlie Watkins. This happened around the time of the Mike Brown killing in Ferguson, Missouri. This is right on Colfax, right before you get onto I-25. And I was actually standing on that barricade not too far away from this officer with the pepper spray gun. And there was a huge crowd trying to get onto I-25, and the police wasn't having it. And I think I did eventually catch a pellet right in the camera, and that was the end of my night. This is after the events of Parkland in Florida. DPS kids got together and walked out in support of passing some common sense gun laws. Now I want to stop on this photo in particular. I would say this photo here is one of the most important I've ever captured in my career, just for the historical significance and what it meant to me personally. This is the Air Force Honor Guard out of Buckley, carrying the body of Lieutenant Colonel John Mosley. He was a Tuskegee Airman. If you don't know who the Tuskegee Airmen are, I won't be offended if you pull out your Wikipedia right now and search it. But basically, he was a really important civil rights icon, and he did a lot of work for people, for the youth here in Denver and Aurora. And he's actually the grandfather to one of my friends that's here today. And so I remember when I was asked to shoot this funeral. I had never shot a funeral. This is the first and only one I've done in my career. I said yes without hesitation, but I was nervous. I wanted to make sure I represented this man's legacy correctly. And I think I even Googled funeral photography tips, just because I needed to prepare myself. So, when you consistently work on your craft and you refine it and you get better at what you do, you're gonna get asked to do things. You're gonna get opportunities that you may feel like you're not ready for. And to be honest, a lot of those sometimes you actually are not going to be ready for those opportunities. But those are the opportunities that really force you to see differently and think differently and really level up, so to speak, and conquer your fears. So looking back on the photos from that day, this one in particular, I really think I was able to do Colonel Mosley's legacy justice. So hashtag they shooting. During this whole time that I was taking photos, I was tagging all my photos with this. It comes from a rap lyric. If you're familiar with the song, it's called, it goes, "They shooting, I made you look." So I thought it was just like a clever photography / hip hop pun. And so I was rolling with it, and I just kept using it. And then eventually it really caught on in Denver, and a lot of photographers and Instagrammers in Denver started using it as well. And then people in LA and New York and then across the country were using it. And then eventually around the world, and we're over 100,000 tags on Instagram right now. And it's just consistent. One of my friends, Blake, a fellow photographer, he approached me and he said, "Man, this thing is becoming a little like a platform in and of itself. We should really be trying to do something with this hashtag other than just using it as a hashtag." So we started doing some photo walks, some photo meetups. We did a really cool photo scavenger hunt up and down East Colfax one time. And we were getting really good turnout and really good participation. And we started moving to exhibits. We wanted to showcase our work, make art tangible, and not just have it on Instagram. We wanted to get people to come to our events. And I remember the first exhibit we did, the first big exhibit we did, it was around the same week that a young photographer here in Denver had passed away tragically, Derek Reinhardt, rest in peace. But that exhibit ended up turning into a fundraiser for his family, and we were able to get his family some money. And ever since then, every exhibit that we did after that that's what it became about, kind of supporting causes that we felt strongly about and that we wanted to support. So that brings me to Winter in America. Winter in America was an exhibit that we came up with based off of Gil Scott's song of the same title. And we wanted to showcase art that spoke about something. And we were showcasing art that talked about, community relations with law enforcement. And RJ talked about it, homelessness and drug abuse and domestic violence, all through the lens of people that were up and coming, people that have never even printed their work before. So the exhibit itself, the hook to get people to come was that we're not charging a cover, but we did ask people to bring a hoodie or a jacket that we could then give back to the community, to the homeless community in Denver. And that night we ended up raising over 200 hoodies that we went out later and gave to the people on the streets personally ourselves. And the exhibit itself was kind of dark thematically, really like melancholy. And so I wanted to use an image for my image that I use in the show that was a little bit more powerful and uplifting. This dude is a pastor at a local church, really involved with like the Black Lives Matters movement, a civil rights activist in his own right. And this photo it speaks to me. It feels biblical in a sense. I mean, he has his staff on him that he's carrying. He has the God can across his chest. He has the people behind him. And it really speaks to me. So fast forward to the following year, we do Winter in America 2. And same concept, We raised over 450 hoodies that time, and we gave it all out to the community. Same thing with the theme. And this is the photo I used. This photo in particular, out of any of my photos, is probably my favorite that I've ever taken. I captured this about 2 months after the election of our current president. And so the air was really heavy. It was, a lot of people were wondering about the direction of our country. We were really worried about certain communities being affected by his presidency. And I just remember this happened during the MLK Day parade. And for some reason, when I captured this, man, this photo just gave me like this sense of hope for the future. Communities of color have always been resilient in the face of oppression, and so it just, I don't know, it spoke to me. And this family seemingly had no cares in the world when I took this. And I mean, I use this on my business cards, on the back of my business cards. If there's one photo that I've ever taken that kind of represents everything that I want my work to be about and to stand for, it's this one. So that brings me to the Denver lowrider community. In between my day job with Denver Public Schools and like my random photo gigs and travels, I try to spend time kind of documenting the lowrider and Chicano culture here in Denver. I've been able to, build these relationships with these certain car clubs, and they've let me in and let me take photos of them and their families and their cars. I always loved lowrider culture growing up, Chicano style art. I always had an affinity for it. Like, I really wanted a lowrider bike when I was little. I still do. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through a couple of photos from this portfolio I've built over the last 4 years of just lowriders and the people that are involved in that community. Oh, this video's working?
Yeah, let's take it out.
Let's play it.
It's in?
Yeah, let's do it.
We are Xochipilli in the flesh, arte in flower and song. The drumbeat of the ancestors sounds inside of us, cosmic cultura marathoning through our veins. We are altars dressed in stars and struggle, marigolds slow dancing to the brevity of life. These stories of survival we spit are sacred. They travel upon the winds like copal. This skin, these earth-tone bodies we inscribe with ink are codices, temples decorated with origin stories and lessons learned. These ranflas we roll slow and low are metaphors for resistance, audacious aesthetics subverting the status quo. We, Arrasquachismo, raise fists and familia. The fire of warriors burns in our blood. The strength of our mothers woven into our bones. You cannot colonize that which refuses to surrender. You cannot kill that which refuses to die.
Yeah, that's amazing. That video actually was a promo spot we did for an event in November for Day of the Dead, where you kind of like meshed Day of the Dead culture with some lowrider culture, and we brought it all together, and did a photo exhibit as well. And it was, like I said, it was in November, and we kind of ended up turning into a block party. We didn't have any permits at all, and we shut down the block for like half the day and had lowriders out there and just like cars doing burnouts. It was kind of crazy. I'm surprised the cops didn't come at all to bother us, but they've helped us out a lot. The lowrider community, they've done stuff for us, helping us with the photography workshops that we do. Like I said, those events. And that was actually shot and edited by my friend Jonathan Martin for Black Sox Only Productions, featuring Bobby Lefebvre, who's the poet in there, and the gentlemen in cars of Gompas Car Club and Mi Gente Car Club. So getting into some more of the photos that I'll take co-director credit on that video too, actually. Here's some of the photos that was actually from that day that we shot that video. It's a chief from one of the native dancing groups here in Denver. If you know about Chicano culture, you know Cortezes. Nike Cortezes are a staple in the community. Caught the homie out in the streets wearing them. Three-wheeling underneath I-70. Little kid over there in Aurora with his lowrider bike. If you've ever been to a car hopping contest, if you've never been, you should check it out. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of lowrider events going on in Denver this summer, so I encourage you to check it out. Get to see a whole different side of Denver that you didn't know, might have not known existed. Vietnam War veteran, lowrider enthusiast. This is during the Cinco de Mayo parade here in Denver. Kind of busting some three-wheel action in front of the Brown Palace. The juxtaposition is kind of crazy if you think about it. Homegirl in front of the old school bomb. Three-wheeling on the north side. The homie Vago. This is Out of Control Car Club here in Denver, right on Federal, in front of Grandpa's Burger Haven, another staple to the Denver community. That'll probably be, hopefully it never disappears. So yeah, you know, the more I spend time with the Denver lowrider community, and the more I learn of the actual history of lowriding, you know, the more I understand how important it is to our culture. You know, lowriding at its core is all about family, preserving family bonds, and passing on tradition. And it's really a movement of resistance against assimilation, resistance against the status quo. And I'm really just honored to be able to capture some of the scenes that I do, and that they bring me in. And that's really all I have. But before I go, I want to say that I don't know if there's like a magic number of hours that it takes to master something. And I really don't consider myself a master craftsman or a professional for that matter. I just love taking photos. This is what I love to do. There's a reason you didn't really see a whole lot of photos of like weddings that I do, and you know, like headshots. Like, why I really enjoy that stuff. This street level stuff is what I love to do. And more times than not, I'm not getting paid for that type of stuff. I might sell a few prints here and there, but I really just put my heart behind that, and hopefully it comes through with some emotion. You know, all I know is that you could put all the hours into something that you want, but if there's no heart behind it, then there's no soul behind it. And I think it comes off as not authentic. And I don't know, I just think if you invest in yourself and bet on yourself, I challenge you to bet on yourself a little earlier. But I really want to challenge you. I want to leave you with this. I want to challenge you to invest whatever creative outlet that you use. I really want to challenge you to invest that into your community. I'm not saying do shit for free. Although sometimes it's good to do something for free, you know? But do it selflessly. Donate your time. Teach others. And I guarantee it. I don't know how, but the community will reinvest into you and to your craft. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.